I hope there's no throne or anything.
Like a platform so that people can see you. Yeah, our teacher can go on.
Hello. So yeah, this is pretty spontaneous actually, so I don't really know what to talk about. So I'm gonna need some help from all of you, so we can maybe have a discussion or a debate, or at least if you can give me something to talk about. So I didn't prepare at all. So any ideas?
Yes. Maybe you can talk a little bit about yourself and...
Okay, good idea. Sorry? Okay, the next one. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to talk about myself, even though I don't know who I am at all. I probably will never know. Does anybody know who they are? Yes or no? Yeah, so I'm from Spain. I'm the 5th kid of 9 children. My parents were disciples of Lama Yeshe. Nobody knows who Lama Yeshe is. Should be a picture somewhere. That's Lama Yeshe. And so yeah, put together. They are best friends. Yeah, so my parents were disciples of Lama Yeshe. They met Lama Yeshe in the 70s in Ibiza, in an island. Today people call it the party island, but it's not just that. There's much more to it. There's just one little part, it's, yeah, party. It's commercial side. So in the 70s, many hippies were coming there, especially like people that had to go to the Vietnam War in America and they didn't want to go there. So they would escape to him of his homeland. So he called it Veselin, the land of the clear light. So 2 years later I was born, and when my father, he went to meditate to decide what to call me. And then he said, maybe Osel is a good name. So they gave me that name. And then afterwards, when Lama Yeshe passed away, they recognized me as his reincarnation. So basically, I grew up in a monastery, studying Buddhism as a monk for 12 years, since I was 6 till I was 18. And then when I was 18, I ran away. I left maybe around 2004. So it's about 10, 11 years now since I left. So basically for me, the reason why I left the monastery was because I had to understand what the West was about. You know, like, supposedly I had to study to teach Buddhism to Westerners, but how can I teach anything if I don't really know what life is about? You know, in a monastery, you don't really get to know what life is about. I mean, you can know about your body, about what you eat, what you breathe, but you don't really know what suffering is. Like, I kind of knew what suffering was, intellectually. I mean, of course, like when you fall, you hurt, like that, but the real suffering comes when you actually dive into samsara, when you get stuck inside, when you go deep inside samsara. And most of us, I think we have experienced that. And most of the monks and nuns here are monks and nuns because they have experienced that. So I hadn't experienced that because I was ordained when I was 7. So that was part, I had to experience that. That was something very important for me. So yeah, so that's what I did. I went, I got lost, I suffered, I enjoyed myself, and I suffered more. And I'm still suffering. So, yeah, so anyways, here I am. I'm not a teacher or anything. I'm probably the worst of all of you. I'm not joking. And it's strange because I'm the worst of you and I'm sitting here talking to you, so it's kind of weird. Doesn't make sense. But I did study a lot of Dharma and I have some kind of experience in this life. And I have met many people and I have had many different experiences, all kinds of experiences. I've been with all kinds of people. I've been all over the place. So maybe I can help you, maybe. At least to maybe give you some kind of understanding of what you shouldn't do. And maybe what there is, something better. Like Tenzin was saying yesterday, she was talking about the mountain, right? Like we are down at the valley, and then like we know there's the mountain up there, but somehow we just want to stay in the valley. It's like the story she was talking about the monkey, right? The monkey about attachment. That like we're so attached that so they have these traps for the monkeys, right? Maybe some of you don't know the story. So they put inside the coconuts, they put the candy, and then the monkey puts his hand inside to grab the candy. And as long as the monkey is holding the candy, he cannot take out his hand. So even when the hunters come to kill them or to capture them, and they're super scared, they still don't let go. Because they want to run away with the candy. But all they have to do is let go of the candy so that they can run away. So I thought it was a great metaphor of samsara and what's happening to us every day. So we can let go of the candy and we can escape anytime. I mean, of course, with baby steps. We have to take small baby steps. It's not like suddenly. But we have that opportunity all the time. And we don't take it. Because we are attached to what we know. We are attached to maybe being lazy or the comfort zone. Or maybe we just like to suffer. I don't know. Sometimes I think myself, I like to suffer because for some reason, even though I learn and I understand the reason why I'm suffering, I still suffer. And I still make the same mistake again and again and again and again. So, I don't know. That's my question, you know. Why can we not make that decision? I mean, most of you are here because you have made that decision, right? But then tomorrow, what are you going to be doing? Are you really going to continue? Or are you just going to go back to the comfort zone? And if you do, you go back to the comfort zone knowing that you're going to continue suffering. So that, I think, is a very important question to ask yourself every time you go to sleep and every time you get up. I don't know. Does it make sense? Anyway, so that's a little bit about me. What's your...
This is the first time I have opportunity to talk with someone that they say reincarnation. So I'm learning about Buddhism, and every time there is like, you know, you're gonna pass away and there is karma, you're gonna come back again, you know, you're gonna come back again in cycle of existence. So it really, how to say, leaves me lots of question marks that exist, like we die and we come back. Yeah, then. So now here you are, and they're saying that you're a reincarnation of Lama Yeshe, so is it really exist? Like, really people...
You know, for me, I have the same question. I ask myself the same question every day.
Because in every religion, yeah, we die, but nobody exactly... We have lots of theories about after death, like Buddhism or Christianity or Muslim religion. But what is it exactly? So now you're an example, so I want to really, at least give me a clue.
I'm an example? I think everybody's an example.
Yes, but like you're the, how to say?
Yeah,
like,
so...
I can't remember anything, but usually when they say reincarnation in a Buddhism, they do have some connection kind of, or do you feel anything? Like you really have...
For me, it's very hard. Everything is very hard to practice. For me to do like sadhana or to even like sometimes, okay, today two things I wanted to talk about was anger and attachment. So that's something I have to deal with every day. Maybe not every day, thank God. But when I do get angry, it's just so strong. Like the anger just blinds you. So then it makes you think you're right. Anything like, even though you're completely wrong and you deep down you know you're wrong, just because of that ego, the ego triggers the anger, right? So then the ego triggers the anger, and then the anger covers up the fact that you're wrong. And even though you're wrong, you're like pushed so hard to be right. And it doesn't matter even if you make other people suffer, you have to be right. And then maybe afterwards when the anger comes down, then you're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, you know, I made a mistake, you know, I have to learn, blah, 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 blah. But then when it comes back again, the same thing again. So why is that? That, for me, is something that I have to really learn, and that's what I want to share with you. You know, like, I'm not a teacher at all. I'm a student, and I think I'll always be a student. And I think we all have to learn together. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to do, is trying to learn from you, and maybe you can learn from me, and just the same way that we learn through life, through everybody. From the moment we're born to the moment we die, we're always learning. Even when we pass away, during the death process, we're still learning about the death process. So it's not easy, you know, to overcome all of these conditionings that actually avoid us to really reach a certain level of not unhappiness or contentment. You know, having a big heart is, I think everybody has a big heart. The only thing we kind of like, we're scared of our potential, right? So we don't allow the big heart to completely take over because of the conditioning. For example, like when we're born, the first words we speak, papa, mama, right? Mine, my papa, my mama. So already there's this conditioning of me, mine. And from that moment, as we're growing through society and the people, because that's the way people grow up, that's the way the system works and society works, then we're conditioned into thinking that way. Into thinking me, mine, I, big me. Just the same way, like, I don't know, maybe 2,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago even, people used to think the planet was the center of the earth. And if you said the planet was the center of the universe. So even if it isn't true, because at that time everybody believed that, they would actually kill you for saying that the earth is the center of the universe, is not the center of the universe. Because the earth is just like a piece of dust, right? It's nothing. Inside the universe, it's like almost insignificant. But because of that ego that the people had, they believed the earth was the center of the universe. The same way we think we're the center of everything. But there's a reason to that. It's because we're like trapped in our body, and we have to live inside our body. Like from the moment we're born to the moment we die, we're inside our body. So all the experiences we have are within the body. For me to share what I feel right now, I have to go through communication. I have to go through words, expressions. Yeah, there is kind of like something that blocks what I have inside to what you can understand. So that blockage is broken through communication, or through like a smile or a hug or some music. So for example, me right now, I'm trapped in my body. So when I feel, it's me I feel. I don't feel what you feel. I feel what I feel. And for you to understand what I'm feeling, I have to go through communication. I have to go through certain means, through certain like channels. So because of that, there's like, all I can see is what I see through my eyes. All I can hear is what comes through my ears. But if I don't have any senses, then I don't really know what's out there. But I do know what's in here. At least a little bit of it. Not everything. Just maybe 1%. So because of that, then we create this kind of feeling of we're so important, we're the center of our universe. But if we think about it, everybody else is the same, right? So Buddhism talks about ignorance, and basically ignorance is the fact that we believe completely that we are separate from everything else. We are independent. It looks like it, doesn't it? But actually, we depend on so many things. When we get up in the morning, we need a bed. When we get cold, we need a blanket. When we are hungry, we need to eat. When we are lonely, we need company. When we're thirsty, we need water. So how many things do we depend on? And then not only that, not just the basic stuff, but then afterwards the ego wants even more. If you have a bed, maybe you want a bigger bed. If you have water, maybe you want sweet water or tea or something more. If you have rice, maybe you want momos. And so it just keeps all the time expanding, and there's no limit to that. And the fact is that when we do get what we want, we're never satisfied. So insatisfaction basically means you're not living the moment. So if you don't live the moment, then you cannot be satisfied, right? Because you're always thinking about something else. So I think that's the beginning of suffering, right? Because we think of me. So this is me right here, and I don't know what you're feeling, I don't know what you're thinking, I don't know any of that. I just know what I'm thinking, I just know what I'm feeling. So that's why I'm the center of my universe, at least. And that creates the ego, in a way. And then that ego, of course we need to survive, so we have the basic stuff to survive. The people who don't have the basic stuff to survive, they don't have those problems. Psychological problems of unsatisfaction, they don't have that. Because their first priority is to survive. Basic food, basic necessities. Once you have that, that's where all the other stuff comes in. All the ego, suffering. Yeah. So I think most of us are here because we have those problems. I think everybody here has enough to eat and has a place to sleep and has friends and company and everything, right? I don't think somebody who doesn't have food would be here right now. Unless they could find food here. Right? So that's why most of us are suffering, because we want more than what we have. And the fact why we want more than what we have is because of that insatisfaction. Insatisfaction comes because we're not living the moment. If you live the moment, maybe if you're very hungry and you're living the moment, it becomes even worse. But if you're living the moment when all your basic necessities are there, then that's where you have to start to practice. And that's where you have to start to observe your mind. Okay, what is my mind saying? Why am I desiring this? Why is this happening? Why am I getting angry? All of these things, we have to ask those questions, because if we don't ask those questions, then it's very difficult, to really improve as a person. What's his name? The guy who invented Apple.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, in one of his talks, he was talking about, he said we have to stay foolish and hungry. And it's very interesting, because many people sometimes, when we grow up, we think we know, right? And then we think we're not foolish. But actually we can never really know, because it's just like our heads are not, they don't have the capacity to really know. Unless of course you go through, like, you practice and meditate, and then maybe there's a certain level where you can understand that. I don't know anything about that, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But there is a point where, you have to know that you don't know anything. Because the moment you think you know, then you're lost. Then you're not hungry, and you're not foolish. So I think that's great advice from Steve Jobs. That's something I picked up immediately, and I was like, wow, that really resonates for me. Because it really means a lot. Every day is a challenge. Every day is a challenge to improve as a person. And yeah, so attachment also is the cause of a lot of suffering. We confuse attachment with love. Like today, many people say, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. What does that mean? It's just a word that like, I don't know, through time has just become a word, basically. Of course, it has a lot of meaning behind it, But when we use that, sometimes we don't really mean the actual meaning. We just mean what we feel in that moment, which most of the time is attachment. Love, unconditional love, does not bring suffering. Unconditional love is everywhere. It's like the love between a mother and a son, or I don't know, like just nature itself. You know, it's full of love. It's like life. So when we actually confuse that and we say, okay, I love you, and then you like get attached to somebody, and then that somebody suddenly, when they leaves, then what do? You suffer. But if it was real love, you wouldn't suffer, because real love just is. It just is. There is no conditioning to it. It's not like, okay, I love you if you stay with me, or I love you if you don't go with him, or I love you if you do this for me, or all these different conditionings, you know, like right now I'm saying it and it may seem simple, but I'm sure all of you have gone through it. I've gone through it, that's what I'm talking about. If I was in the monastery, I wouldn't be able to talk about this, right? So I think, for example, for the nuns and the monks, this problem is resolved, right? Is it? So when you feel love, it's unconditional love. Because there's no conditioning. There is nothing that goes with it. It's just as you are. It's pure. Sorry?
I don't believe this story. Because I think it's really, really, really difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
So maybe you can get this, me as a normal person, even not a Buddhist, maybe you can get this, so 1 second, I had that experience for one person, I were enamorado, and then I thought love, but not, once I could see him as he are, with all good things, bad things, and I had an exception for that. It was only 1 second. And then I knew this is unconditional love, but this was...
1 second.
I think menos as a second. It was
but that's enough. 1 second can become 2 seconds. Right?
Yes.
And then 2 can become 3, and then 3
maybe
fly away.
maybe.
Yeah, no, of course it's not easy. If it was easy, I don't think any of us would be here. We'd be in TUSHITA. The real TUSHITA. No, this is the real TUSHITA. I'm just joking. For us, at least. Yeah. So it's a challenge to really feel unconditional love. We can start with our parents. And I think that's a big challenge. Big challenge, especially in the West. Because the West, the culture, the education, the way we grew up is very different from like Asian countries. I grew up in India with Tibetans. So my first language is Tibetan, so inside I'm kind of Tibetan. I have white skin, I know about Western culture, I've been to Spain, I've been in the West, but inside I'm kind of Tibetan. So for me, when I actually left the monastery and came to the West, and I went to the classes in the school, and I saw kids shouting at their teachers, or children treating their parents badly, I couldn't believe it. It was like inconceivable in my mind, because of the way I grew up. So the teacher and the parents is the most respected thing that you can have. You know? Even, for example, when a teacher talks to a student, the student doesn't even look up at the teacher. They look at the floor as a sign of respect. In Tibet, for example. When the teacher talks, the disciple looks at the floor, like that. Maybe in the West we see it a little bit extreme. It could be extreme, I don't know. But it's a big difference, you know, like from that to going to the school and the teacher having to leave the classroom because the kids would not stop shouting at them. So they had to actually leave the classroom. And I couldn't believe it. I was just speechless. And my brothers and sisters sometimes would like fight with my parents. And then slowly I started doing the same too. I started getting angry at my mother. I would shout at her. why did you leave me at the monastery? And then half an hour later, I'll come back to you, I'll be like, I'm sorry. Actually, thank you for leaving me in the monastery. I'm very grateful to you. So, but it's interesting, no, how culture actually conditions us so much. And, you know, like, this